Welcome aboard then, ladies and gentlemen, to WOR. This is the Legacy Division. It is myself, Jota, alongside Joseph, your usual co-commentary pairing for this brilliant bonanza in the streets of Baku. It is the next round of this particular championship. We should be in for an absolute cracker ahead of us as well. Joseph, it is Baku tonight. Usually one for a race where it's obviously a bit more of a long-winded one. We usually build up to a bit of a frenzy towards the end on this one, but nonetheless should still be a cracker.
Absolutely. Good evening, Jota. Good evening, everybody. Baku back in its round 4 slot, so to speak. Used to be kind of there back in the day, so it's good to have that back just a week and a half before the actual Grand Prix next week. And hopefully we'll be saying, well done, Baku, by the end of this one, as the drivers do like the long, straight circuits, even though it is a tight, twisty one, especially in that middle sector where Castle is. They do like the opportunities to overtake. We've got just that this evening.
Yeah, certainly do. Just a quick little bit of a housekeeping on this particular race tonight then. And of course, we do have the grid here for you. So, Dan and Quantum, ever familiar names within the future racing team and within the esports world. Dan will be serving a 5-place grid penalty converted from the 5-second penalty they got last time out in Texas. Enzo and Nassim for RSC. You've got Tomas and Tom, both of the Toms, if you will, for the Ventauri outfit in the Red Bull. Then Mercedes Shizu-Cedar Igniters in Dirk and Jerome. Leonardo and Evil for the Hadrick Racing meme team alongside Matteo and Ryderdal at ET8. Then you've got Swiadek and Sieb for IRT, Dom and Snack for AMR. You've got Simba Rocks and Namsco at Team QRT, wrapping it up at EVR with Kevin and Misha. Should be in for a good one then. We are just in the midst of people getting ready for qualifying. We're just over 2 minutes into the session, so the majority of the laps coming in are still intermediate. So we've just seen Enzo Sabaton nearly absolutely pile driving it into the going up the hill of the... What was the familiar line then from good old Charles Leclerc? I am so stupid in his Ferrari. Very peculiar, very late on the brakes. Could have been an early exit there. But, of course, if you're not familiar, in qualifying 1, the bottom 5, of course, will be knocked out, followed by the next 5. Then the final 10 will find it out for pole position. So, Joseph, expectations for this particular race then?
Highly unpredictable, certainly with it mainly being a one-stop strategy around here, but of course a safety car could very easily convert it into a 2, and we might see some of those teams languishing towards the back of the table go a little bit longer and try and promote a little bit of havoc into this race. The skies are sunny in qualifying. We'll have a restart going into the race, so what the drivers do see in terms of the weather forecast will entirely change as we go into another dynamic session after this one. But seeing as we're already running into a couple of lobby problems, I think that just adds to the potential for chaos just that little bit more, but I hope not in a negative way.
Yes, and that's the thing, isn't it? We've got the drivers have also got to get used to the fact that there will be a restart as well, because of course we've got some other little bits of housekeeping as well. You may have noticed 2 of the 3 occasions of this particular championship we've been caught off guard by a driver readying up too early. And all the teams have decided that they've already had enough of people going into a race a little bit too fast. So what is described in this scenario as a completely different rule change for the teams. Of course, we will now be applying a penalty for anyone that does ready up too early. Might not be that much of an issue on this occasion, because of course we do have to commit to the restart at the end of this qualifying session to apply the 5-place grid penalty to Tom in the team for FRT. In fact, it's Dan, sorry, not Tom. I've got them and VNT mixed up on that one. Of course, no expectations of any hot laps coming in just as of yet. Everyone's still on that intermediate run. I think we've also got Namsco also on an inter tyre as well, racing in the Williams. So, you know, answers on a postcard, folks. So you think the favourite is for pole immediately out the blocks. I mean, Dirk is known for his free-flowing circuits as opposed to the circuits where there's obviously a bucket of 90-degree corners. So I wouldn't expect SCI to be fielding Dirk immediately towards the front, but he is quick in this particular game cycle. Jerome, though, very quick around this circuit, so he could be pretty good. I don't know if you've got any specific favourites here, Joseph, but if you're going to put a favourite on, Matteo immediately comes to mind.
Absolutely. I mean, just a word on Dirk as well. You mentioned maybe not so keen on the free-flowing circuits. He did race Monaco, and he was there. You know, he wasn't outright quickest, but he was there. And I think that's what SCI want from a race like this. Weren't the outright best in Monaco. They might not beat the outright best today, but what's most important is that they have a 29-point championship lead, even with these tough circuits at the beginning of the calendar. Matteo goes generally quite well around street circuits. He's going to be up for this one. There's also a few drivers going 3 out of 3 in the first part of the season, hitting all of their races that they are allocated before the transfer window. We've got Sieb on their third race, Matteo, of course, as well, and Quantum, who, well, could it be another carry job this evening? No FRT second driver has scored points yet this season. Might be a tough ask for Dan, who has the 5-place grid penalty. But again, like we saw in COTA, those doing the back-to-back sorts of races do tend to come in with a little bit better form.
Yeah, so a quick reminder then of the standings as well, because we've just need to have a quick review of what has actually been. Now, let's be candid, with only 3 rounds in, we're starting to see a little bit of an upshot here between the teams that are a little bit of an OG. The Suzuki Igniters and ET8, of course, both expected to be towards the front this season, already putting themselves a bit of a gap between 3rd and 4th place, both on 72 points, by the way, Future Racing Team and Ventauri. So, of course, Future Racing Team only in front of the virtue of having that race win at Monaco round number 1. Quest Racing Team on 49 from Hadrick, then RSC on 34, IRT 27, AMR 16, and Evolution Racing on 2. So, you know, again, it'd be interesting to see how the midfield is going to evolve here a little bit, because, of course, if Shazoo and ETA are going to keep scoring the big points here, that ground for 3rd and 4th place is going to be very, very tight, and it's already tight as it is now. But QRT, Hadrick, especially Hadrick as well, we are expecting some of their better tracks to start coming into play, perhaps around about round 7 or 8, surely, the more faster, intense circuits. So I'm expecting, surely, you know, those teams to potentially close up the barrier, get towards the top 3. So, yeah, again, it's still very much up for grabs about who sort of 3rd and 4th place are going to be. I suppose 1st and 2nd as well, but it's really between the front two at the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, it's very few teams on this grid that will fancy themselves right now against SCI and ET8. Again, some in that sort of transitional process. QRT, to name one. Hadrick Racing, they look committed, don't get me wrong, they got the best result of the season in COTA, but of course, where do they go in the transfer window? What acquisitions can they make, if any, to their meme team? Of course, you've got to kind of treat this season a bit like a football one, where you've got those 2 transfer windows during the season. Other teams might strengthen, might they fall back after round 5 next week? Time will tell on that one. RSC, expecting a little bit better from them. Of course, we've seen Enzo Sabaton is quite an exciting lineup tonight. So I go into this with a lot of hope for them, a lot of intrigue.
A lot of intrigue indeed. I'm just keeping an eye out on Snack at the moment as well, down in the RB. So he's looking particularly sharp, as well as the Racing Bull Toro Rosso Alpha Tauri RB. He's a cash grab. He's just getting a bit of a tow, actually, from the RSC driver in front of him, who's just on an outlap of Nassim. So that's obviously going to help Snack definitely in this first part of Q1. So we'll see what this soft tyre run is going to be. It'll be the first one across the line. And in fact, was it invalid on that occasion? I think it was invalid because he's not got a lap time on the board here. So maybe I got caught a bit off guard by the fact that it was invalidated. I'll just need to double check there. Was he on an outlap? Because it doesn't look like to me on the replay that he was on an outlap, but apparently he might have been.
This is very confusing because the clock in the top right was, well, he hit the timing beam at the start-finish line, and it kept counting up from 40-odd seconds. He's 1 minute and 10 seconds into this lap. So I don't know whether this is...
I've got Dirk.
With the lobby.
I've got Dirk currently on 8 minutes 45 at the moment.
So do I. Yeah.
So I think we've got a bit of a timing bug happening here. Now, this may be a bit of a problem for us. This may be a spectator glitch as opposed to anything substantial from our part. So we'll have to get a double check and see if there's anything that we need to keep an eye out on here, because this might purely be spectator. For all we know, everyone else might be perfectly okay. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, we've got a sector 1 yellow flag, I think, for a loose Haas there. As Snack has come across the line, there is the lap times. It was a 1:38.539. So it looks like the laps are now starting to creep in now. but it obviously it's a little bit off time with everyone else. Just going to see what Jerome comes across the line. And he has come across the line, but it doesn't look like we're actually going to get to see the laps until about 30 seconds after they have actually happened, which is rather peculiar. Dan coming across the line then, he sets his lap, whatever that is, we have no idea.
Watching Dirk now, it went back to him being on an outlap. Oh, he's crashed! I think, well, he's asking for a restart here because he's put it in the wall. It doesn't say he's retired, which just sort of sums up how this session is going. But yeah, he said he couldn't see any cars.
I think we do have a restart potentially here. I'm not sure what's going on, but we have got some severe issues occurring here, where people seem to not be able to set a lap time until about 30 seconds after they've actually set it. And it looks like to me that this might be as a result of the host. We think there may be a bit of an issue with the host connection, maybe, we're not sure. So there's a bit of a debate happening in the in the server. So we'll see what when people decide that they're going to commit to it here. And yeah, there it is. So we are committing to a short qualifying now. So qualifying will now be ceased. The red flag is now out on circuit. So people are now going to return to the pit lane or just bin it, let's be honest. And we will be committing now to just a short qualifying for this event. So it will be a full 80-minute session for pole here. Yeah, very peculiar. I mean, I've seen many glitches with this game before, as the retirement has finally come into play after about an hour, about a minute and a half after he actually crashed. I've seen many glitches in my time, Joseph. This is a first.
I want to know how bad Simba's Wi-Fi is to have caused this, because I've never seen this in my life. But ultimately, he was kind of allocated the role of it. He did suggest, my internet's not the best, but quite the coincidence for this to happen, when he has, of course, been given that responsibility at this extreme level. But to be honest, I much prefer a short qualifying. I think, long outlaps or whatever around here in a full qualifying, it's a bit tedious, it's a bit boring. Get it over and done with. Stefano Domenicali would love this. He's appeasing to the short attention spans. We only need Subway Surfers in the corner of the stream.
Yeah, so I think we are committing to the restart then, folks. So we should be moving over imminently to a new lobby where we're going to have potentially Matteo running the show on this one here as well. As people don't want to know, 1 minute delay. Dirk is setting a 9-minute lap time. And everyone is asking Simba to pay his bills in hopefully to get a better internet connection. Either way, a bit of a peculiar one. Obviously, I'm a bit laggy as well, actually, to be honest with you as well. So I'm wondering if there is more to it than that one. So that gives us a very quick opportunity, if you don't mind, actually, to talk about last week, Joseph, because obviously the sprint race ended up with no surprises. SCI, ETA, SCI. At the top, but IRT showed some serious pace last time out in Texas with that 5th and 7th place finish, and obviously split by QRT with Sam. Quantum managing to get into the top 9, and of course always a pleasure to see Lafitte in the top 10. Sprint race wise, IRT really showed and flexed their muscles.
Yeah, they did, and of course there was an extra spanner in the works there. There was a mandatory pit stop in the sprint race, and again it was all about timing. They got it right and finished 5th and 7th. That actually contributes to quite a large amount of their points haul so far this season. Justin, though, making a little bit of history. He becomes only the 5th driver in the Legacy division to have won both the sprint and the race in the same round. He follows Otis Lawrence, Tycho Hardy, that's Rudy, Cameron Dowds, Matteo, and now Justin to have done the same as well.
Yeah, pretty critical stuff, that, actually. It's a nice little point, actually, in that, the fact that we haven't actually had that many sprint race winners, so it's good to see a new winner joining the blocks. As a result of the main race, though, once again, no surprises. SCI, ETA, wrapping out the top 4. But once again, though, you've got that midfield in a real mixed bag. IRT, though, nowhere to be seen within the top 15 as a result of that one. They actually didn't manage to perform as well in the main race. The best of the rest actually going to Hadrick through Leo. Quantum managing to get a good set of points as well for FRT in P6. Again, split by the fact that they have one driver all the way at the back. RSC solid 9th and 11th place finish between the pair of them. And Schumacher managing to get that singular point to double their tally from 1 to 2 for Evolution. So, question for you here is, what is the next step now for the midfield? Because to me, your consistency is where it's at. And at the moment, RSC and AMR have got drivers within the ballpark of each other, albeit with about 20 seconds difference. So it's a matter of the midfield drivers need to be sort of where SCI and ET8 are, sort of one after the other.
Yeah, they are, and that makes a successful team, doesn't it? Drivers on the same wavelength, able to complement each other in a race. Not always necessarily about pure pace, but how, of course, they combine to deliver an optimum strategy. Because always if you have a car undercut and you've got the other car there to kind of, slow the others down, then, again, you're more likely to be at the front. And the likes of Hadrick, FRT, how do they get, looking at the transfer window, another similar performer to what they've got? Leo was very good. He was outstanding in his overtaking. Quantum running his own race, really. Remember, he had to start on wets because of the early ready up, and he managed to recover. Yes, he's 33 seconds behind, but he did have to essentially take that punishment through no fault of his own. So it was a bit of a write-off race in the end because of, again, not everyone's setups and tyres being exactly as they wanted. But certainly, it's about getting those drivers close to each other and in the position to be able to react.
So, speaking of a write-off, that qualifying session now confirmed to be a complete write-off. So we'll be moving over to a short qualifying session where there's a bit of a debate happening at the moment about Dirk, because, of course, he crashed out in the main qualifying session, so they're saying that, well, he shouldn't be taking part in the short qualifying. But as far as I'm concerned, if the qualifying session that you're in was completely bugged, it should have never occurred in the first place. So anyway, we'll let people debate that one in the chat if you are watching. Thank you very much, every single one of you tuning in. We are taking a very brief break before we get on for the short qualifying session in just a few short moments' time for what will be, no doubt, a bit of a peculiar now qualifying in Baku. Don't go away. Welcome back then to WOR. This is the Legacy Division. We are back now after a quick brief break. Told you it'd be a bit of a bonanza at Baku here tonight here, Joseph. We've obviously had to have that very quick break after what turned out to be one of the weirdest glitches that I've probably seen. But Simbarox has apparently taken the blame for that one, so we switched to Mateo, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the short qualifying event should be a little bit cleaner this time.
So, of course, it changes the entire dynamic of the session. Of course, no more elimination in this one. Just a straight shootout, wow, for pole position. And, well, those teams that thought might be at risk of getting knocked out from Q1 or were debating whether to use 1 or 2 sets of tyres in the first part of the session, ain't got to worry about that now. Probably 3 runs per driver. And, well, could get pretty chaotic on the track. Hopefully no more desync.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it, if you think about it? We've had to cope with a few bits and bobs here and there with issues with this game and with pretty much every game cycle we've had. But I think this one we can probably draw up to potentially a little bit of an issue with the choice in the host. But what it does mean is now we get a more exciting qualifying here now, because it's all flat out for pole position here, and that actually offers some of the midfielders an opportunity here, because this is a circuit more known for obviously getting a good toe. If you get a good toe down that back straight, you've got a real shot at potentially getting pole position here tonight, or at least climbing up the standings. So this means, well, that actually it's going to fall against the favour of SCI and ET8, isn't it?
Of course, deliberate slipstreaming is outright banned, but if you can just line yourself up or catch somebody preparing their lap while you're on a flyer, then get that toe that's probably worth 5 miles an hour down the start-finish straight. A, you save on battery because the slipstream does more of the work, and B, you're going to gain time. So there might be just a few of those little games being played, especially in the final sector. But of course, any work between the teammates will of course not be allowed. So yeah, Baku, of course, known for its slipstream and its teamwork. We'll be seeing that between the teams rather than within.
Yes, absolutely, of course. It offers a completely different dynamic in terms of the politics as well, of course, because if a team seems to think that another team just managed to give them a slight benefit in an event like this one, it will go to the stewards, no doubt. So a completely different dynamic in terms of the politics for this particular qualifying session as well. Of course, remember, at the end of this one, Dan still has to serve his 5th-place penalty at the end of this as well. So bear that in mind. We'll be having another restart at the end of this one as well, can you believe? So that, excuse me, will cause a little bit of further issues as well. So bear that one in mind. So here we go then. People just about to get started with their laps. First person to be setting a lap by the looks of things, I believe, will be Leo. That's the Hadrick racing driver. Just chucking the car then through into turn 1, and then he'll be heading through into turn 2. Well, I think I'll just let Joseph give us a quick commentary of this particular circuit.
Let's do it then. Grazing the wall on the exit of turn 2. It's on the straight line down in towards turn 3, but watch for that kink in the straight. We saw Sainz and Perez come together there last year, braking hard then and missing the corner entirely. Too late on the brakes, and he did a good job actually to bail out of it before he was going straight into the wall at turn 3. Well, in typical fashion, we won't take you around the rest of this lap in particular.
Well, I'll tell you what, no, we will. Let's go with Ryder Dome. No, never mind. I've gone on board with him, and he's just pile drived it into the wall as well. So, in fact, let's actually go on board with Enzo Sabaton then in the Ferrari. That's the RSC man, chucking the car through the right-hander. He'll then head up through I Am Stupid corner. Try and make sure you don't take too much of that curve. It'll spit you out wide, and then he'll keep it planted left and right. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, we should be in for a bit more of a cleaner lap, Joseph.
Turn 13 and 14, then two left-hand kinks, then plummets down the hill. Tricky braking zone, blind initially as you go over the crest. Plenty of inside curb, but still hits the outside wall. That's the risk versus reward you take at turn 15. You see that in the race. Might see some front wings flying. Rounding turn number 16, then the last proper corner on the circuit. He starts to deploy the battery at 70%. Charged up for the final sector here. Of course, you want to hit maximum top speed down here. DRS open shortly. If you can get that before you start derating, you won't lose too much straight line speed. He's nailed that, has Enzo Sabaton, and crosses the line with a 38 dead to kickstart proceedings here in Baku. That's beaten by Matteo on a 37.7, and then his teammate Rydal on a 37.6. The management was good from Enzo, but the lap time not quite there.
Yeah, not quite there. Quantum managing to beat him as well by just a bit over half a tenth of a second. Here comes FRT down. Remember, serving that 5 close grip penalty. P10 is where it will be for him at the moment, but plenty of lap time still to come in, of course. SCI Dirk managed to go P3, but his teammate Jerome comes across the line to go fastest of anyone so far. I'm also keeping an eye out on Dom here tonight. I think AMR have got a little bit of a star potential in Dom here tonight. Usually known for the lower downforce potential here, as VNT Thomas comes across the line. Ventari, I did say the midfielders could potentially put a bit of pressure on. Dom comes across the line. Oh, it's only a 38.5. Plenty of lap time still yet to be found, actually, for Dom in this one. Seed, another man consistently seen within this particular championship for IRT. It was an invalid lap time. Would have been a 38.2, which would have put him down in P11, where his teammate Swaldek has just come across for a 38.4. We'll come across for Namsco now in the Williams. We'll be hoping that he can keep all the pace that he possibly can, but it's not looking to be particularly quick. Here he comes across the line right now, a 38.8. He's slowest of anyone so far in that Williams. Has still got other lap times coming in as well. Simba Rocks looking to also set a lap time as well. Needs to be well within the ballpark in the P10 if he can help it, but 38.4, another one struggling with that pace out there as well. So plenty of lap time still to be found out there, and still plenty of drivers yet to set a lap.
Quite a wide field spread around here, at least there tends to be, because there's various ways you can approach this lap in Baku. Of course, you can focus on the downforce, be quick in the first and second sectors of the lap, where it's very, very technical, especially through the castle section, as we all know, or shave off all of the wing, save all of your battery, and be absolutely rapid in that final sector. It's about getting that balance right, certainly at this early stage in qualifying, and of course all the usual qualifying strategies, when they'll go out, when they'll swap tyres, what the cutoff is. That's all gone now that we've converted it into another short qualifying. So, yeah, a little bit harder, if anything, to really reduce the gap if you feel a bit on the slow side.
So, we're just following Leo at the moment. It's the Hat-Trick Racing driver. Both Hat-Trick Racing team mates haven't actually set a lap time as of yet here. Both Lucia also struggling as well. Seed, by the way, is he just finally entering the pit lane? Yeah, he is entering the pit lane. I thought he was going for a cooldown, but it looks like he's not. So Leo just coming across then the final corner, and he will get going for his lap. So he'll be the next person to set a lap, I believe, and hopefully unlap. So struggled a little bit going through into turn 3, and obviously did an excellent job to avoid to get his car into the runoff area, actually, because he lost the front by a big lock-up, and the rear tried to step out, but he actually controlled it really well. And he'll have another go on a fresh set of boots as he heads through into turn number 1. Leo hoping to set the first lap of the day for Hat-Trick Racing. Chucking the car then, of course, through into turn 2. Take as much of this curve as you dare, but try not to hit the outside wall. He does exactly that, as he'll now chuck the car down towards turn number 3, where we did see that error from Leo a little bit earlier on. Will he do the same thing again? He'll chuck the car, he brakes a little bit earlier this time and gets the curve, and he hits the wall again. Willing to take a little bit of wall banging around here to try and maximise the lap time, but is that the fastest way round here?
I don't know. Somebody else in the live chat might have to confirm or deny that. Just based on how he was, the angle he was hitting that wall, especially at turn 3, it looked like it slowed him down. He wasn't quite as clean on the traction as he could have been. Difficult traction zone actually is turn 7. That's where he's just come through. Wow, actually really, really close to the wall through turn 8, and then up through 9, 10, 11 and 12, all in quick succession. We just know it as the castle section. We'll stick to that. And now plummeting down the hill once again, using battery on this little bit. It's a straight line section of track when you ignore the little kinks. Too little curb, in fact, just understeering into the wall. And assuming they are running really low wings for this qualifying session, yeah, it's not a nice feeling at all. Got to save all of that power for the start-finish straight. He runs the final official corner shortly, and the DRS zone will come soon after. There he goes, opening up the DRS. This doesn't look like a great lap, so how scruffy it's been. 3 major bangs of the wall, but no damage. Leo Tonamato crosses the line and still goes second. That's this game for you, isn't it?
Yeah, still goes second fastest, though the track may be evolving as well, which may be to the benefit as well. So we've just seen another lap coming in from Snack as the Racing Bull has managed to go sixth fastest, but immediately beaten by Kevin. EVR showing their muscles as well, and now manages to get their driver into the top 3. Great effort indeed from them. We've got other lap times still coming in thick and fast as well. I think we've got Yasia also on a lap. In fact, he's just finished the lap, and it was only P13 for the Hadrick Racing driver. So again, a real switch up between driver A, driver B, between sort of Hadrick, and we've seen that at the moment as well, unfortunately, for other teams as well. We're thinking EVR with 1 in 3rd and 1 in 14th. We've got a little bit of an issue also developing at the Racing Bulls as well, with Snack up in P7 and AMR's Dom in P17. You've got also improvements occurring, though, I no doubt, between the drivers at ETH. We're looking to try and find a lap time of improvement. Found in fact, lost 1,000th of a second in the first sector from Ryderdahl, so not much of an improvement, actually matching his first sector. Very, very aggressive going up the castle section. Keep the car planted if you can, and then the second sector split just coming and approaching at the end of this particular straight, and then of course down the hill. Ryderdahl taking the car through the left-hander. Will he hit the wall? Oh, he certainly will. That was a bit of a naff angle to take that one. He might have got wing damage from that. Here comes the sector split. He has found a 10th of a second, though, has Ryderdahl, so that could be an opportunity to earn time. Matteo is just in front of him, however. In fact, just behind him, rather, so not that much of a tow considering the distance, but ETA definitely quite close by. Not long left in this session, by the way, folks, so people have really got to sort of get the skates on. Enzo Sabaton comes across the line with the fastest lap, but Ryderdahl immediately beats it with a 37.4. Matteo dives into the pit lane. He's aware that he's not got that much time left. 7 minutes to go. Lap times will be coming in thick and fast.
Matteo might do an outlap and come back in. You'd assume some drivers have opted softer just to have a 4th compound available if they need it. Of course, it won't transfer over to the race. But what a top 3 we've got at the minute. Ryderdahl, Enzo, Thomas, and of course Leo, and then Kevin. And then, well, I could go on, couldn't I? We've got 7 different teams in the top 7. I didn't quite draw my eyes to that, just how close and how many different teams we've got up there at the moment. This is really, really exciting indeed. We've got Sieb to finish a lap. Dirk as well. Sieb 1:14.1 in the second sector. He's a driver that can get up there.
So it looks like Dirk has abandoned that particular lap, which is peculiar, to be honest with you. I'm keeping an eye out on Dan as well. He's not improved his lap either. Remember, Dan's got to serve that 5th-place grid penalty as well, Joseph, so that could be a bit of an issue as well for Dan. As it stands so far, he'll be starting in P19, or it could be even worse. In fact, it'll be P20. He'll be at the back of the grid. Now, Sieber's come across the line and set his lap for IRT of 37.917. As it stands, though, when you look at the gaps, 1/10 of a second separating the top 4, and as said, the top now 8 teams are completely. In fact, is that the top 8 teams are all top 8 drivers are all from different teams. That is cataclysmic in World Online Racing's Legacy division, but it's not unheard of.
Something we've seen often at all this season, of course, with the bigger names constantly being up there. EVR sitting pretty in P6, it must be said. This is a huge opportunity tonight. They've got to take it. Only 2 points scored this season. Both have been P15 finishes, 1 in Monaco and then 1 in Kota last week. They've got 4 out of 6 possible DNFs, including a double DNF in Hungary. So something's got to give for them this evening. It's great to see them as one of the teams currently in that fight. We saw Sieb go up into P12, and Dan is looking to improve on that P16 at the moment. This will sound controversial. I'd rather start 20th than 16th, to be honest. It's not a huge hit at all, and he'd probably be able to make that up if the circumstances are right just on the opening couple of laps alone. Here comes Dan to the line. He stays in P16, so still starting last as it stands, but well, actually that's the second run on those tyres. I didn't notice that soft tyre tick up to 2, so yeah, we'll have one more fresh set, and he's still scheduled to start last at the minute.
Well, has he got enough time, though, I wonder? Dirk has now got a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Sieb. Now, whether or not that actually carries over into the main race, we don't know, because, of course, this race will be restarted in order to apply Dan's 5-place grid penalty. So keep that one in mind. One thing that I am almost certain for that you would also sort of kind of follow through with is the fact that Nassim has decided to retire from this session. Now, he hasn't retired on circuit as far as I'm aware. There's no debris on circuit to be aware of. There's no crash that's happened. He has just retired on his own accord, so he's very happy to start at the back. Perhaps he doesn't feel like he's got the pace to go any faster than that one has the RSC man, so that'll be one to keep a firm eye on. Either way, Dan will be diving into the pit lane, and with 3 and a bit minutes to go, it's actually going to be a bit of a mad rush to get a fresh set of boots on that car and get going. He's matched his first sector, has Leo, though, the Hadrick Racing driver looking to go a little bit out of sequence with everyone else and have another go at this one a little bit earlier on. He can hope he can find a 10th or 2, but there's no cars on track at the moment to give him any kind of tow.
No, not at all. He's just got to try and work on his own here. Loads of inside curve for Snack. That was perfect. That's the best I've seen that corner being taken. How's he looking in the second sector? Half a tenth up. So, depending on how this final corner is, and I think he's a bit short on battery at the minute, could lose a bit of time going up to the line. We'll soon see. Snack, is he going to commit to this lap, or will he come in and join everybody else in the pit lane for a final attempt here? He's signalling he's going over to the left, and yes, indeed, he is coming into the pit lane as potentially expected from him there, just so he's not out of sync for the end. Leo Tonelato, is he going to do the same thing? He should jump into the pit lane here, because he'll still have time to get out again, and indeed he is. So just being baited there, but that is where the 4th set of tyres comes in. You know, you can't do a full lap, and of course Leo had that issue earlier on in the session where he went on at turn 3, so just a bit of track acclimatization there, I'd call it.
So, Dirk is appealing again in the chat. This is the Discord chat, by the way. This was absolutely not his doing. The situation, Seeb crashed into him, and it shouldn't be applied. Well, good news anyway for him, of course, is that the lobby's getting restarted at the end of this anyway. As I said, to apply that 5-place grid penalty to Dan, who was at the stand, will be starting at the foot of the grid in P20. So, you know, that is, you know, a lot of people controversially getting a little bit upset, shall we say, with the fact that Dirk is getting away with everything left, right and centre, but let's be honest, it's just one of those weird scenarios. Misha is going to be the first person to set a lap on these. This is now our final run in this short qualifying session. A quick reminder, this is not Q1. This is the only qualifying session we are taking part in as a result of a glitch that occurred during full qualifying. So this is for pole. And as it stands so far, ET8 have got a man on pole through Ryderdal, but it's his, as it stands, ET8 from RSC, from VNT, from SCI, from HR, from EVR, from FRT, and then wrapping up in the team for the represented by the Williams in Sibirox 1 and Namsco, which I've completely forgotten off the top of my head. Please remind me, Joseph.
QRT.
Thank you.
No, was that V? I can't remember the colours, to be honest, anymore. I'm looking at this.
VCarb is AMR. I do remember that one, so
yeah.
It must be QRT. Sorry, folks,
QRT.
I am losing my mind on this one. Misha is running away with this one, then he's banging into the wall at turn 2, Joseph.
Yeah, he is indeed. Misha looking to join his teammate up in the top 6 at the minute. We've seen that wall banging is the way to go. I did a league race here on Sunday night. So I didn't bang any walls. That's perhaps where I was going wrong. Completely using it, and it looks like it's just boosted in time. I don't know if anyone's ever played GTA and how the curbs just boost you along the straight. Sort of going on here with the walls. He's 2 tenths up in the first sector, so Misha absolutely wrestling his kick Sauber around the circuit at the moment, and going into turn 7, using that bit of extra road on the left-hand side. It's kind of creating that as an entry curve for him, and a good reference indeed. A few stabs at the wheel going into the castle section. Didn't lose too much time though, sliding around through the top of the hill, and descends down the hill. He'll only have an Aston Martin in front of him. The rest are just getting on with their laps. He might be able to pick up a small tow here if he's lucky, Misha, depending on when he catches this Aston Martin, but he's already around the final corner. How's the second sector split looking? It's in the braking zone of turn 15, and he is still up on that time with plenty of battery to boot as well. There is a top 10 on the cards here. Leo Tonelato didn't make his final lap. I think that's because he got held up by his teammate Yasir, who was joining the circuit. So Leo will start to lose places here. Will one of them be to Misha? He's run out of battery now, but the DRS towing him along here. And he goes 8th. This is a really good qualifying for EVR.
Yeah, really, really good indeed. We've got a Mercedes coming across the line. I believe it was to Jerome, who was also trying to improve on his lap as well. He's invalidated his lap, actually, so there'll be no improvement for him, as Ryderdal goes even faster with a 1:37.247. It's a great lap from the ET8 man, but Dirk will be looking to improve it if he can. Here he comes then, heading down the back straight. He'll be wanting to take as much opportunity as he possibly can. Thomas can't get any, he got a little bit closer, but it's not close enough for pole. Here comes Dirk. Will he be able to get anywhere near the top 5 if he comes across the line? It's only P10 for Dirk, and that is critical. Kevin will not be improving on his lap either. Enzo Sabaton will not be improving. Jerome will not be improving, but Tom comes across the line for Ventauri. He goes P6, and he'll be happy with that one. QRT have got Namsko, who's found 0.3 of a second in the second sector. He'll be hoping to get himself back into the top 7 where he once was. Here he comes across the line right now. Oh, he goes P3. It's a great effort from Team QRT to get into the top 3 and on the second row. It's a great performance indeed. 0.2 has been found from Dan. Will he be able to avoid starting from the back of the field after his 5-place grid penalty is applied? Or is he going to look for it even further, I wonder? Here he comes then across the line. It's P15. He will be starting at the back of the grid when the, sorry, it'll be P19 rather, when the grid penalties are applied. But I tell you what, my dear friends, that will be it. And as far as I'm concerned, it is a mixed bag. But no surprises at the front. ET8 have got pole, but their nearest rival SCI is in P5, split by a bunch of midfielders. That's exactly what we want to see in this Baku race.
ET8 with their 7th pole position then as a team in the Legacy Division. They're the first team this season to have a second pole position. We didn't keep up the streak of having different teams on pole in every race. But that's exactly what ET8 needed to kickstart their evening in perhaps what was the longest qualifying in history, elapsing nearly 1 hour. Thomas also on the front row. Fantastic effort ahead of Namshko and Enzo Sabaton. Jeroen in P5 ahead of Snack, Quantum, and then the other Tom in Ventauri ahead of Leo Tonolato, who didn't make his last lap. He was quick all session. Watch out for him in the race.
Yes, and of course, one thing to make note of as well is Dirk and Matteo set exactly the same lap time as well, a 1:37.694. That 5-place grid penalty won't apply for the main race, but if there's any stewarding inquiry, that could be potentially applied after the fact. We will be taking a short break because, of course, we've got to apply the 5-place grid penalty to Dan, which will put him as far back as P20. So it gives us an opportunity of a quick reminder of the standings going into this race, of course. So the Shizou Cedar Igniters, who have only got their closest driver towards the front, Jerome, is in P5 for this one. Dirk is really struggling around here tonight on 195. They've got Ryderdal at the front for pole position for ETA on 166, but Matteo's pace is off the pace by just a bit under a half a second. Then you've got Future Racing Team. Of course, you've got one driver starting at the back with the grid penalty, but Quantum is in the mix for some decent points here tonight. But Ventauri have got some serious pace here tonight, so they could potentially put a bit of a gap between themselves and the future. You've got QRT in 5th place. It's a great effort from Namsko to get himself up into 3rd place. What an effort indeed. Hadrick Racing really struggled with Leo Tadalato, who's the up fronter for them in P9. RSC, a great effort as well to get themselves up into the top 5. IRT struggling a little bit at the back, as are AMR, but Evolution have got some pace here tonight as well. This could be a real mixed bag, this one, Joseph.
But indeed, of course, you've got the fight for the title, and of course, ET8 looking to take advantage of SCI, not necessarily their driver lineup, but just how they've performed in qualifying this evening. They've handed that Matteo that 3rd race of 3. Of course, he's not in this qualifying session, so one car at the front, one car towards the rear alongside Dirk. Major dynamic going into this race. And then, of course, the fight for 3rd in this championship. FRT and Ventauri level. Ventauri look like they have the upper hand, but of course, Quantum up there in qualifying once again in his 3rd race this season, and Dan going from the back. You know, still don't rule them out for a heavy points haul here. And Quest Racing Team as well. I think that's their best qualifying of the season. They will go from 3rd in this race. They can make some serious inroads. And of course, with about 40 points for a win, isn't it? Yeah, anything's possible. All of those teams can very easy swap positions.
So, confirmation, by the way, that this will now be the 3rd lobby of this session, because we will not be sticking with this current lobby that we've just done qualifying in. So it'll be a new lobby and then the grid, and then we'll be into the race. So we'll be taking a short break in just a few short moments. But before we wrap it up, before we go into our next break of this, of this one, there's your driver lineup once again, Joseph. We've got Dan with that 5-place grid penalty will now start in P20. Quantum managed to make it in the midfield, but when you look down this field here, this game cycle is starting to feel a bit as if the OGs, those that we thought that would be towards the front, I'm thinking your Mateos, I'm thinking, those particular drivers are not the ones that are going to be leading their drivers forward going into this one, because Ryderdal has shown some serious pace here tonight, and Mateo, great driver and a driver of high caliber with the credentials, of course, winning championships. Is it just that this game cycle is just not for him?
I'm not sure. I'd genuinely love to sit down and have a chat with him one day, metaphorically in a Discord server, of course, just about his experiences with the last few games, because it feels like he's covered all aspects, hasn't he? But maybe just not quite equipping to that qualifying session as well as he maybe could have. Of course, he's a 4-time race winner. He is one of the best drivers the Legacy Division has seen in what is now its 4th game cycle. But yeah, again, interesting to hear from him, maybe in a bit more detail. I know you like that sort of stuff, Jota. Get an interview. Quote.
Yeah, need to get those interviews back up and running, to be fair, because I did enjoy doing them, actually, and I think a lot of people found a lot of comfort from watching that kind of thing, especially seeing it from the manager's perspective. So no doubt we'll be able to get that one in due course, but in the interim, we will need to take a break because we are just about to get the new lobby set up. So don't go away. The Baku Street Circuit and the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is just a few short moments away. Oh, that was a long time to wait, wasn't it? We are back then for the World Online Racing Legacy Division round number 4 here in Baku. Thanks for being alongside us for this one. Apologies for all of the technical hitches that we've had for this particular race. It's been one of high peculiarity, but the drivers are getting themselves ready for what will be no doubt a very intense race ahead of us. Very quickly then, Joseph, we're going into this one. Any firm favourites for this one, or is that qualifying session really set itself out for be a real mixed bag?
Well, if anybody tuned in on Friday night, you would have seen that Dirk did, in fact, win as at the race in Baku. He was joined on the podium by Jeroen. Will it be an SCI 1-2? That looks unlikely from their grid slot, but do not rule them out. Championship leader Ryderdal from Console Tier 1 is on pole position. And Matteo also got a good result in Baku. So it feels like there will be a lot of overtaking from further down the grid. But this race has been won before from pole position. PSR Wilson in Season 2 and NLR Daddlepad in Season 4. So my money's on Ryderdal.
Money on Ryderdal. He's the one leading from the front of the grid. But of course, it is a real mixed bag out there because despite the fact that the grid otherwise has been set by, you know, the expectation of ET8 and SCI leading from the front, look at that in terms of how much of a mixed bag it is. The nearest teammate at the moment when it comes to team-on-team battle is Ventauri through Tom and Tom being in 2nd and 8th place, because otherwise the top 7 are all completely different teams, and that is just a testament to what Legacy Division can bring, especially when there's a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to that the grid, you know, especially in qualifying, because qualifying with only the 18-minute session, every little bit of toe that you might have got from another driver has helped some people out. Credit where credit's due, though, to EVR, by the way, 10th and 11th place. Good start for them as well. But Matteo, well off the pace for ET8 here in 12th place. His race pace is usually where it's at, though.
Yeah, absolutely. We're minutes away here. Hopefully nobody catches us out as I'm speaking. That does tend to happen. We've got a mixture of mediums and hards ongoing at the minute. Most drivers on mediums. I wonder if a few will make a sneaky switch to hards. Very, very, very durable race tyre are the hards. You can do about 17 laps on them if you are very good on your tyres. I doubt we'll see that. I think we'll see the mediums used and out of the way first. Will said EVR or one of the other teams languishing in that area go for the mediums and then perform the undercut? We'll see.
That is going to be the critical one. We are waiting for the ready up to be called. I think Luke has already given the green light, and there it is. So we've been given the green light. We are going to get going in just a few short moments in this race here. So answers on a postcard. Who you think your favourite is for the race victory tonight? Feel free to discuss it in the live chat if you are watching live, and if you're not watching live, where have you been? Remember, we are live on Tuesday night, 7:15 in the evening. Usually, if I'm not late, that's the sort of key identifier in this one for the World Online Racing Legacy Division, where we'll see, of course, the top 10 teams of this championship fighting their way through to become a world champion and take part in a giant prize pool this year, well, this season rather, of a £1,000 prize pool, and that is going to be really strongly fought for, as will this race tonight. Who will be the race victor for this one? I'd like to put my firm favourite on Ryderdal. He's shown the immediate pace here, but never ever discredit those that didn't manage to qualify well at a circuit like this one. You never know what can happen, and it usually will be an intense one, because Baku usually is a little bit of a mixed bag, but the drivers are getting themselves ready for what will be no doubt a really intense race in this bash in Baku. No more waiting. Let's go racing here in Baku. And Ryderdal does get the good start here, and Thomas not able to make the early attempt here, but here comes RSC immediately showing their pace to Enzo Sabaton and getting the jump on QRT's Namsco. Snack holding on for P5 and Jerome holding on for P6, but it is a bit of a mixed bag, and I think there is some debris out on circuit already, as someone already lost part of their front wing. I wonder, someone has gone for a spin, and it looks like it's QRT Simbarox 1 has gone for a spin, so now they will go behind the likes of C, but Dan managing to get a good start up pole position positions already. Quantum and Leo in their own little scrap as well for P7 and P8. Remember, these two are actually fighting out in the championship and the same amount of points, but Quantum getting the jump on Leo, now up to 7th place. Dirk doing a decent start as well. He's now up to 11th place in his battle and now splitting the two EVR drivers, but Misha is showing flexing his pace, and he wants to immediately defend here from Dirk, and he does exactly that. He'll have to go around the outside on these hard tyres then. Will the gap be there is the question. It's going to be tightly compact between the pair of them, but in the end Dirk has to give that one up, and Misha does hold on for P11.
To look at in the opening lap, QRT Nabshko has gone down 3 positions on the opening lap. He just seemed to get swarmed, first by Enzo, then by Snack at turn 2, then by Jeroen going through turn 3 and 4. Looking further down, Leo Tonelato is the first of the hard runners. He's currently sitting in P9. He'll go long into this race. We've got Ghosting. Somebody's hit the wall then. Jeroen and Snack are inside of each other. That might have been, well, I still don't know, because they're not willing to give this place up between either of them. Still inside of each other as they come through the final corner. Quite remarkable scenes here in the opening lap in Baku. One of you've got to give this up at some point, because look at Namshko. He's seeing 2 cars inside of each other. He's going between them to potentially pull off a double. Oh, terrific from Namsko. He was down 3 positions on the opening lap. No longer. He's capitalised on a bit of stupidity from the pair of them to go back up into P4.
Yeah, and Quantum's also trying to get in the mix as well against the AMR driver of Snack, but not able to get the traction out of the corner. And this is what happens if you start trying to play with the ghosting and try and maximise the best you hear around the outside. Quantum will go. This is a bold call around the outside. He's managed to find a gap somehow out of nowhere to put himself in prime position to get the overtake. No issue at all. Oh, there's a collision between the pair of them, and I think Snack perhaps did not want to give that one up, and a just unfortunate between the pair of them. Quantum now down to P18 with no front wing whatsoever. Lap 2 of 26. That is what happens in the circuit like this one. One thing that is a massive benefit though, and one thing that does surprise me, EVR are absolutely sky high at the moment. Kevin has gained 3 positions from 10th. He's now in 7th.
You're lying if you don't want to see EVR do well in this race. Perfect opportunity for them, as we've alluded to. Quantum down in P19. Again, it was unfortunate, even in Kota, that he finished P6 because of how good he was in the wet conditions and how the early ready up kind of cost him long term in that race. But now he's, well, he'll feel hard done by on that one as well. It's more often than not a penalty to the car on the outside. His teammate Dan up into the points now, overtaking Dom for P13. Yeah, he might have to do some of the hard lifting here, FRT Dan, but he is losing DRS to the cars in front. Quantum will be fighting, though, to get back into the points paying position.
Yeah, we've got someone in the chat as well, Split, saying that he believes it's the McLaren's fault there. What is the McLaren doing, and what is this Ferrari doing of Nassim as well? Remember, he decided to abandon qualifying in its entirety, but he's making the move now on Dom against the AMR driver, and that move now done and dusted, very cleanly done from the Racing Speed Championship driver, now up to P14. Dan, what a great effort it is from him as people are trying to break the toe going down towards turn number 3. It is really tightly compact at the moment, and there's only 3 drivers, by the way, on the hard tyre. Leo Tonelato is on the hard tyre alongside Dirk, so they're hoping to go longer than everyone else in this one. But of course, this is going to be the early pay of this particular race now, because of course they are going to be significantly slower on the hard tyre at this point in the race. But later in the race, as you alluded to earlier on in this stream, Joseph, that hard tyre is a very good race tyre at this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. They've not done the wrong thing at all by going on those hards. It's, again, just how they come in. Their mediums will soon be hitting 20% if they haven't already. The rear tyres take an absolute battering around here, certainly more so than the front. So if they're not really managing them to the best, Leo Tonelato might well be on the back of some of these cars very, very soon. So he clobbers the wall on the exit of turn 15. Oof, really playing with fire, some of these drivers. We've already seen wings flying, but nobody into the pit lane. Lap 3 of 26, and Ryderdal is also almost breaking the DRS. I don't think he's quite pulled a second, as Thomas just about holds on.
I'll tell you one thing though, Ventauri is really struggling with their driver Tom at the moment. Tom, up in the P6 by the way, he's really struggling with that rear end and actually lost it just coming down the bottom of the hill, and as a result of that one, the EVR man of Kevin is starting to put some serious pressure on that Red Bull now, and actually Ventauri are actually jamming that. Tom have still managed to hold on to the DRS actually of Namsko himself, who is actually got a bit of a 2-second gap now to Jerome. So I'm wondering if the Shizou Cedar Igniter is not using the most of his tyres at the moment and is just managing it in the hope that he can possibly extend his stint somewhat. Surely not for a soft tyre though.
Oh, Dan's up the inside. Sorry on Misha for P12 now. He's looking to add his 8th position gain to his tally. Couldn't quite pull it off, but Misha starting to tumble down the order, it must be said. They were running 7th and 9th, but I mean, with cars behind you like Leo Tonolato, Dirk, Matteo and Yassir, it's fair enough that he might have lost those positions. Now he's just got to try and get his elbows out and defend. I mean, he's struggling through the castle section. I can't remember what you were saying anymore, Jota.
Quite right, I can't remember what I said about 5 seconds ago myself anyway, so we'll move on and we'll focus on Dan actually, who's doing the best that he can in order to try and sort of mitigate potentially pressure from behind, and he's focusing on Misha at the moment, because this battle with Misha I still don't think is done and dusted here. So Misha is around about 9/10 of a second, so he will have DRS unless he gets a bad exit, which he actually has, to be fair. He's trying to get the grip as much as he can here to potentially put pressure on the likes of this Aston Martin, but is he going to be out of DRS, I wonder? He certainly will, but look at Tom, look at Dan trying to get the pressure, and look how early he was to get that grip. He didn't get DRS in the end, did the kick Sauber, but in the end, Misha's just having to sort of battle out here with the fact that he's got no ERS available, and I think that's his problem. He's struggling with his ERS management, and that's why he's hemorrhaging position. Dan, now up 8 positions, from 20th, he's in 12th.
Misha really needs to adopt the non-medium sort of strategies. I mean, he's just burning down this straight. That will leave you very little to potentially start to recover in the back end of the lap. You need all of the battery for that start-finish straight. Oh, it's chaotic at the back here. Here comes Simba trying to reclaim P19. He has done from Sieve, who sadly is at the back of the field in this one. Is he one of the cars with damage? Yes, he is, on his left-hand side. One of those circuits where you've just got to kind of stick it out, because you can still compete if you are holding on to DRS, but unfortunately just losing a bit of time in the corners to the point where he is vulnerable down the straight. Let's see if he can hang on at the back of the field. Into the castle section then for the 5th time. A lot of cars in order. Sometimes it's nice just to be following another car through there. They tend to be a guide just where the corner actually is, because it's so unsighted.
Could have sworn Quantum didn't have a front wing, but it might have been because he was in the shadow. He has actually got a full front wing, so has Quantum actually got away without any damage after that collision earlier on with AMR's Dom, I wonder? So that could be a potential benefit now to FRT. Despite the fact that he's down in position, they've actually got Quantum now actually potentially still able to overtake drivers. If that is the case, it's not all doom and gloom for FRT. Remember though, both of their drivers being completely outscored by HR at the moment, and HR will be of massive benefit for them, because they will of course then retake their position in 3rd place in this championship. Namsko deciding to give his position up to Kevin, by the way. Kevin is actually making some serious inroads at the moment in Zunberg for EVR. This could be a really big points haul if he keeps it clean, is the question. He's got the DRS, he's not using too much of his overtake, or is he looking for the move potentially going into turn 3? He is looking for it, straight into none, and he's just managing his ERS now. So actually, is there a top 5 finish potentially on the cards for the team at the foot of the table?
Yeah, the mean green machine at the minute is EVR. This would be a great result, and certainly an upset considering how they've started the season. But just thinking about Tom's game here, of course, Thomas, his teammate, has pulled 3.5 seconds on Enzo Sabaton. Is Tom just trying to back up the rest of the pack just to make Thomas's life a little bit easier? And so if he performs the undercut on Rydal, there'll be less traffic potentially for him to have to battle through. We'll keep an eye on that one. That is certainly a warning for Tom on the exit of the castle section. He has straddled over the white line there. Here comes Leo Tonamato, and Namsko's really been struggling. Quite a whirlwind of a race for him. Of course, that double overtake perhaps didn't do him many favours, because he was already immediately vulnerable to losing them all again.
Plenty of ERS available at Leo's expense, by the way, but just a quick point of note that Going into the corner at the top of the hill, which would be turn number 15, he lost the rear again ever so slightly. Now we saw that in qualifying going into turn number 3. So here comes the move anyway, as Leo Tonelato looking to try and get the move. A couple of sort of switches left and right, but gets the move done on Namsko, who also loses a position to Dirk as well, who's also battling and still putting his car down the inside line of Leo Tonelato. And they're still side by side going through to turn number 2. And they're just bearing in mind, by the way, Leo Tonelato has got no left side, right side end plate on that car either. So the HR driver is actually nursing a little bit of damage now on that Aston Martin, and that will pose a bit of a problem because, of course, he wants to take those hard tyres as long as he possibly can. But without that end plate, he's burning through his tyres a lot quicker than all the other drivers are.
Yeah, he is. I wonder where actually he's hit that left-hand side wall, because I've seen him hit the right-hand side wall. Certainly, as you say, at turn 15, I think it is. Yeah, I don't know where that left-hand side damage has come from. Maybe he's just turned in too soon. Perhaps at turn 3, where we saw him go off in qualifying. Dirk, though, now the lead hard runner. This is a massive turnaround, isn't it? Looking good now in this race, Dirk. You say did win in console tier 1. I think he knows all about the strategy round here, and he's on the right lines at the moment. 2 more cars in front of him that can very easily overtake in the next few laps. And then, well, the next car is his teammate, SCI, in that teamwork position once again. And
this is fairly critical as well for the Suzuki Igniters, because of course 3rd and 6th place in this race, will obviously counteract a really good attack from Riederdal in P1, whilst Matteo is still struggling in the depths of P9. Matteo really needs to find his mojo, and he needs to start making some serious inroads as quick as he possibly can, and that's exactly what he's trying to do in this battle with Team QRT and Namsko. While that's happening, Dirk has managed to overtake Kevin for P5. Leo Tonelato following as well, because Kevin is now diving into the pit lane. He's the first of the medium tyre runners then at the front of the field, that is, to switch off of the medium tyre and go on to a set of hards to the end of this race. So it'll be interesting to see where Kevin's race is going to be versus everyone else who are in their own little battle at the moment. Matteo now up to P7, but he's still battling at the moment with Namsko. He's in that closer battle at the moment for P7, for P8 rather than for P6, as Leo Tonelato is just being carried at the moment around with Dirk, but that gap is now over a second, and with that chunky front wing now taken off, that could pose a serious problem. Sector 1 yellow flags are waving, and guess what? It's an HR driver. Yasia has gone for a spin and overtaken by guess who? Quantum for FRT.
There, it looks like at turn 4, didn't see another car involved in that. Enzo did hit a lap before, so he is already on the back of some medium runners here and has already hit traffic. This is what I'm on about, the sort of risk of hitting early. You do get this with quite a spread out pack. Kevin did respond. He's 7 seconds behind though, and I was watching him just try to get those tyres going. They were freezing coming through turn 2, struggled for any sort of grip at all. And yeah, this might be quite a long feeling out lap for him. Will anyone else at the front of the field come in on this lap? Riederdal from Thomas at the front of the field, 5 tenths between them. Will we see an overtake, in fact? Thomas is coming in.
Enzo has just gone for the move on F1 Snack, who's just refusing to make any attempt to overtake Yasia as a result of that lack of a front wing. And as a result, Snack has paid the price for AMR. Oh, getting close to the wall as well. Has he got any kind of front wing damage himself, I wonder? He does. He's missing end plates. Left, right, and centre. So both Snack and Yasia surely should be in for their pit stops. Enzo on that 1 lap old hard tyre and now 2 lap did not want to lose any more time than was necessary. Have we got more people with potentially front wing damage, I'm wondering?
Leo.
In this core, it's Leo getting in the mix as well. He's gone for a spin at guess where? Turn number 2. We've seen him struggle through here as well. HR's race, which was looking so strong against FRT, has completely fallen flat on its face.
Oh dear, Leo. You could see it in qualifier, but you could also see
both
how
end plates.
Quick he was. Yeah, no end plates at all on that thing. So this will be a pit scenario, I think, just to get rid of A, the compound of tyres, which is probably shredded by now, and B, change the front wing. He's got Enzo Sabaton all over him, who is going to get increasingly frustrated by this, especially as we go into the section that requires the front wing the most. Huge lockup. double lock-up for the front tyres of the Aston Martin. Enzo is just going to have to sit and be patient.
Yeah, Enzo is going to be really, really livid here because he wanted this undercut to be an absolute treat, but he's getting hammered by people with lack of a front wing here. He'll go side by side. It's a very good exit from Enzo Sabaton, but he's still trying to battle his Leo straight into the wall. Why is he battling with other people around him without that front wing? He's only risking himself and HR's potential race here points haul. They are in a strong battle with FRT on exactly the same amount of points, 72, going into this race for P3 in this championship. That's the last thing that the Mean Team need to have here, is to look like the joke that they're trying to portray themselves to be. Here comes Thomas trying to get the move done on Quantum. Quantum, no doubt, is diving into the pits at the end of this lap here. More people diving into the pits. Matteo is in. Ventauri is also pitting their driver Tom as well. So Thomas will then to elect to stay in P5 in their battle at the moment with the likes of Quantum. Of course, Thomas pitting earlier on. Quantum is extending his stint.
Yeah, Dan pit. There was never going to be a double stack down at McLaren. That's another 2 seconds he would have lost if Quantum was to pit there. Interesting, though, of course, Dan did have first dibs, but Quantum more likely to be struggling on his tyres on the pads. But of course, the wheel driver just getting in and joining in on the action. He's right behind Namshko here, is Dan. So be interested to see how that battle continues in the next few laps or so. Ryderdale has a 4.3 second lead over Jeroen, but of course we've seen Thomas in. He's on the back now with his Y8, who might slow him down a little bit. But this is a strong undercut. He should have the lead by a good 5 seconds plus, I would presume.
No, Quantum's locking up the front rights at the moment, going through into the castle sections. He's got to keep it very careful here if these medium tyres are starting to fall off a little bit of a cliff. Kevin, by the way, is in a net P5 as it stands so far after getting the jump on Tom by just a small margin of half a second. He is still trying to get as close as he can to Enzo, but the gap being now about 7 seconds means he's going to have to battle really hard for the next 16 laps if he wants to try and hold on to this P5. The question is that has he got enough of a gap against the likes of Radadal and Jeroen, actually? So it might actually be around about P6, P7 here, actually, for Kevin. Quantum, no doubt, is going to be in the pits at the end of this lap. Radadal is in the pits and for the end of this lap. Jeroen is matching him as well. So Dirk will take the lead of this race, albeit he has to have a pit stop at some point while this is happening. Zwaldek has just been overtaken by Ventauri's Thomas, who is now in the prospective lead of this race, of course, after all the pit stops are applied, as Quantum has just really bottled this one with that now 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. An opportunity has opened up on FRT's door with the demise of HR in this race, and Quantum has paid the price for his lackadaisicalness.
Safety car now to be able to serve that one in the pit lane. Otherwise, this race is pretty much run here. We won't really be seeing many track limit penalties. Of course, there is the exit at turn 12 where it does tend to catch people out, but there's no, the entrance of turn 7 as well, where you can cut. It's those two places really, but it's not often we tend to see top level drivers do that. So on the penalty front, Quantum screwed without a safety car. Dirk 7 seconds over Thomas, and looking at the gap, so there's 1.5, then another 1.5, then I'd say another 1.5. So I was about right. I've had a 4.5 second buffer over Ryderdale at this stage. So Ryderdale now being the chaser, we'll get a helping of DRS from Enzo if he can close in by the end of this lap, and then that should propel him onto the next car.
Yeah, forgive me, I was saying P5 for Kevin, but I was absolutely forgetting that P1, P2 obviously flying high, but as it stands so far, Dirk still needs to commit to his pit stop, as does Swaldeck. So Thomas is currently the leader of this race from Enzo Sabaton from Ryderdal, but of course Ryderdal has got that fresher hard tyre which could help him later down the line. Of course, he's actually in DRS of Enzo Sabaton at the moment. Kevin Zunberg, though, is in a really good position for some big points here for EVR. I've got a theory for you here, Joseph. Let's listen to this one. Quantum has that 10-second penalty. His race is done. What if he decides to hold up the likes of Leo Tonelato and Yasia as long as he can with the most aggressive defensive strategy to allow FRT Dan to climb up the rankings naturally? Because as it stands so far, Quantum won't be getting any points, but if Leo and Yasia is behind him, nor will they. The only person that will benefit will be FRT Dan, who of course will gain points off of the battle with HR. Of course, they're tied on points going into this race.
I think HR will catch Quantum, to be honest. Leo will have to pit again. Those mediums won't make it to the end, and Yassir, of course, you saw him make an error. Oh!
Oh!
As Seeb is into the wall. Quantum was aggressive there, really elbows out, and Seeb just kind of had to make a decision there. Do I keep my nose in, or do I just back out and maybe take some of the wall with me? And in fact, he does have damage on the right-hand side, but he did anyway, I think. I don't know whether he pit and changed the front wing. Based on the fact he's still in and around this area, I don't think he did change his wing, so I don't think the damage was caused by that, but don't quote me on it.
Yeah, so Quantum is getting extremely aggressive out there, so I think that idea of let me just hold up the HR driver as long as I can strategy is not on FRT's cards here. He's trying to maximise as many points as he can, but of course with that 10-second penalty looming over Quantum's head as we're approaching halfway into this race, my guess here, as you rightfully point out, Joseph, I think is that a safety car is what's going to be needed. AMR Dom directly in front of him here. This is a battle that them two both struggled with a little bit earlier on and getting involved in a collision earlier on. So Quantum has got a little bit of a bone to pick with this man in front of him. Dom is losing time hand over fist. Has he got any kind of damage to his front wing, I wonder? Quantum wants to get this one done. He'll go down the main straight here with the DRS available. He has got front wing damage. Actually, he's missing not just end plates, but the entire wing structure at the moment on AMR Dom's front wing. So that move was going to be fairly clear cut and lock up big time. He's losing a lot of time at the moment, is Dom, with that major front wing damage. Quantum now up to P14. He's chasing down Misha as Tom and Matteo are changing positions here for P7. This is for ET8 and Ventaure. ET8 are in for some decent points here as it stands with P3 and P7. Jerome is P6, but Dirk still leading this race, but he still has to pit.
It's a great battle, actually, here between Ryderdale and Enzo. I mean, well, Enzo suffering on the tyre delta, it must be said, and Ryderdale starting to get away here, but they both did just overtake the Zwayade in tandem down the start-finish straight, and I wondered for a second if Enzo was going to try and make a lunge on Ryderdale, but that would have done none of them any favours, and Ryderdale now starting to get away here, and the battle well and truly on for this net race lead. Dirk still going out in front. As I say, the hard tyre is easily good for the best part of 17 laps to do a 9-lap stint at the end on medium tyres. I doubt he'll go much earlier than that. He'll really want a grand spanking good set of tyres at the end of this one. Jeroen now next in line to overtake Zwayade, who didn't make it difficult for the other two. I don't think he'll make it difficult for the Dutchman here, as he shortly will open up DRS. We've got a yellow flag on the circuit, and it's Nassim once again. He's facing the Louis Vuitton advertising without a front wing. Now, sometimes we get safety cars for that. Doesn't seem to have caused one.
Yeah, game not very keen to throw a safety car out on this occasion. Lap 14 of 26, as we've just seen Nerone make his move against Sweldeck. Remember, of course, still yet to make his pit stop as well for IRT. I think they're hoping that there potentially is a safety car on the card. So Matteo will be carrying the NT's Tom, who we were watching, by the way, when he received his 3-second penalty for track extension. He absolutely cut the corner at turn 7, going into the small straight ahead of the castle section. So a well-deserved penalty, to say the least, but Tom will not be concerned about that one. His concern will be just stick onto the back of Matteo and let the ET8 Alpine Renault carry him around the circuit. As they're now approaching said turn 7, will have Tom learnt his lesson, or will he be cutting the corner once again, I wonder? Chucking the car in, learn his lesson big time. A much more conservative approach now going through that corner, but of course he'll want to stay within touching distance of the DRS of the man in front of him. Enzo Sabaton now 1.9 seconds behind Ryderdal, who has managed to find in time hand over fist against Ventaure's Thomas. Of course, Thomas leading this race in a net P1 as it stands, but currently P2 as he's finding more and more time himself. Around about 3 seconds he's under now against Dirk. Of course, Dirk, remember, still has to make his pit stop. Will SCI pit their man, or will they be hoping for a potential safety car on the cards with Nassim now on a soft tyre to the end of this race? He'll be hoping that potentially Nassim makes another mistake, puts in a wall and potentially buries a safety car, because if that happens, SCI Dirk is actually going to be winning this race once again in very similar circumstances to the last time he was at Baku. He'll be potentially be winning this race if a safety car happens.
Bruno on Enzo, there we go, into turn 1, Matteo on Zwayade, there we go, into turn 1, both of those done, and Namshko on Kevin Zunberg. Well, this is a great battle, isn't it? And of course, for big points for their respective teams, QRT and EVR, so keep an eye out on that one as they swap places for P9. I think the sensible thing for SCI to do is pull the trigger when Thomas catches up. They're kind of entering the pit window now, and it might be a lap or two before Thomas gets fully close to the back of Dirk. In fact, it might even be on the end of this lap. So, yeah, no need to really trip over each other and just get the new fresh set of tyres on. But Enzo's starting to slide down the order. He picked the earliest out of anybody from mediums to hards. I wonder if there'll be a risk of puncture at the end of this race.
That is going to be the question. So it's lap 15 of 26 then in this race. 11 laps to go. Question is when Dirk is going to be committing to his pit stop. Now we saw people pit with around about 8 laps to go in the with 8 laps gone rather. So the expectation should be that the pit off of the hard tyre around about lap 17, lap 18 of this race. So a couple of laps left for Dirk here, and he'll be hoping that a safety car happens imminently, because right behind him, 1.2 seconds behind, is Ventauri's Thomas, who is hoping that the earlier pit stop for him on the hard tyre in the undercut has worked an absolute treat. In that, hopefully, he hasn't gone too early though, and the hard tyre starts to fall off a bit of a cliff. Anyway, a gap between him and the pole sitter Rydal now around about 4 seconds. That toe really working a treat. DRS is available now for the Red Bull, so Ventauri will be thinking that their man is going to be leading this race at the end of this lap.
Yeah, this also gives Rydal the perfect opportunity to start closing in. He's been stuck at kind of that 4.5 seconds range ever since they both came in for pit stops. So, yeah, one to look out for. Thomas has just got the move done with ease coming into turn 2. And Dirk's potential plan B of holding up Thomas to allow Jeroen to catch up as well hasn't quite paid off. So I think Dirk will be on the end of this lap and will start to suffer now even more in the dirtier of another car. He had a really good run, actually. Can still get some overtakes done towards the back end of this race. FRT Dan now on Kevin Zumberg. He loses another position, does the kick Sauber. Another polar opposite from the first stint. Kevin going backwards when he was going forwards on the mediums.
And I wonder if that's because he's actually suffering with his ERS management here, because a lot of people seem to have a bit more ERS versus him on this one, so that could be one to be worried about for him. Dirk will be hoping he can stay within the 1 second gap of Thomas and hopefully put a little bit of pressure in going into turn 1, but you can see after every corner he's gaining tenths of a second, hand over fist is Thomas, and I have a gut feeling here, even with that plenty of electrical energy in the batteries of the Mercedes power unit, Dirk is not going to be able to stay within touching distance. We'll see anyway. He's coming now across the final couple of corners. Will it be within the DRS? In fact, he will be within DRS, will Dirk, but as a testament to the fact that he was able to use his ERS on this occasion. So he will have DRS on this occasion. No move potentially here, as we've got sector 3 yellow flags wave for a slow car. Wondering who that one is. But Dirk will not be making any overtakes here on Thomas,
Enzo.
but the move is got to be turn number 3. So Enzo Sabaton struggling at the moment, potentially debris on the circuit in the third sector as a result. Coming through then turn number 3, not a good entrance at all from Dirk, and that gap will now start to open up. He will have the DRS, but Thomas will have, well, Dirk behind him, but perhaps not for too long.
Yeah, Matteo got past Enzo, and there, oh, he spun again. Oh, I was looking back at the stream to see what happened. Enzo's now lost it on the exit of turn 1. Really not sure what has happened to him. As I was saying, Matteo overtook him, and then he must have hit the inside wall or something coming through the kinks, going on to the straight. And now, of course, just lost it on his own accord. So Enzo going from bad to worse for the whole RSC team. And, well, points might now look a privilege in this one if he hasn't got any damage. Sieb and Yassir going side by side. Snack trying to get involved as well. No contact, fortunately, going into turn number 3. Well, some things have just come alive on this circuit in the last couple of minutes.
Oh, sorry, just caught off guard there by the fact that Snack has gone for a real dive down the inside line against Sieb, but Sieb is still trying to hold on around the outside. That's going to be a squeeze, very well held from Sieb to not put himself in danger zone. It allows Zwaldek on the fresh medium tyre now to potentially chase down the AMR driver in front of him, now on 8-lap-old hards, but a fresh set of medium tyres on Zwaldek could be in for some points here tonight, our IRT. They might not get one through Sieb, but Zwaldek on that medium tyre could potentially be on the cards for around about P13.
Yeah, you think he would here, and see that's twice he's had to just sort of back out to avoid any contact there. A nice run on Snack down the start-finish straight. Enzo's still going, but Simba rocks one. It must be said he was last on the opening lap with damage. He's going for P11 here, and within penalty range of Quantum for a top 10. I've not said a word about him since lap 1.
That's close!
Oh, wow. That was half a gap.
I love that we both had to just take an exasperated breath after that one, because Enzo really did squeeze him into what is a very Michael Schumacher-esque versus Barrichello in Hungary. Oh, he's gone very late on the brakes as Enzo as well. He is really struggling out there now, but a very ultra-aggressive defence saw Michael Schumacher with, I think, was it a complete race ban, I think, for the next race after that one in 2010. But nonetheless, Simba Rocks does get that one done, even though he'll be calling for a black flag against Enzo for that one. Very close indeed. FRT 8th and 10th respectively. Quantum, though, of course, remember, with that 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So Quantum, as it stands so far, will be losing buckets of positions, and this is, you know, the killer for FRT here, because they've only got their closest battle in the championship is with HR, and currently they're only getting 2 points with Yasia, because Leo is still down at the back in P18 as it stands. So FRT's Dan, despite the fact he started P20, definitely a driver of the day performance, you'd have to say, for FRT Dan in P8, but FRT not a team of the day performance, you'd have to say.
I don't think so. Just based on how obviously the roles have kind of inverted with that second drive. The second drive being Quantum tonight through not much fault of his own, we think. Dirk into the pit lane then, having to hit the brakes quite late then. He finally realises it's time to make a pit stop. Now, he was P2, 4 seconds off the leader. He might well fall up to about 30 seconds off the race lead here if things haven't quite gone to plan in the pit stop. Looked pretty smooth to me. Medium tyres going on, and he will rejoin ahead of Quantum, you'd think. Yes, he does in P9. So now it's a straight dash to the end to see how many more positions he can make up.
Well, Kevin will be fighting his hardest, I think, in the bruised lime that is the Kick Sauber to do the best that he possibly can. But let's be perfectly candid, with the 11-lap old hard tyre versus now the freshest medium tyres on the grid, surely the expectation is that Dirk will have this one done and dusted fairly quickly. The question is, how far up can he get, and will he be able to stay within touching distance of the penalty, of course, of Ventauri's Tom? With that 3-second penalty for the track extension issues, he could be a serious value to Dirk here as he gets the move done on Kevin very early indeed. So his next rival will be Dan in P7. While this is all saying, by the way, guess who's had a very quiet race indeed, Joseph? Matteo. He's now up to P4 in this race here, and that is a very quiet introduction into this race, because now ET8 are earning some big points tonight with Giron in P3 and with Dirk currently in P8. ET8 are going to be closing up that gap in the championship.
Kind of did this in Monaco as well, didn't he? Where it just kind of cropped up and thinking, yeah, I'm still here, guys. We are still scoring massive points, is what ET8 will be saying, and they perhaps like that the attention isn't quite on them at the moment, purely because of the chaos that's going on. Misha has no front wing, and he's just let through both Enzo and Zwayed there. He's got to be careful coming through this final sector. I think he's tagged with Enzo somewhere, who's also really, really slow coming through this final couple of corners. So another instant out there on the circuit. The stewards are going to have a hard week ahead.
Yes, potentially. He's got no right side end plate either, has Enzo, but he's still going to try and continue. Down the inside he will go, but he's going to have to go earlier on the brakes rather than later than he wanted to with that damaged front wing. Yasia will be happy to swallow up P13 here, because HR, of course, have got that battle with FRT. So if they could take P13 off the cards, that'd be great, as we've got a spinning car, and guess who it is again? It's Nassim, who's gone for a spin on a fresh set of soft tyres. He'll now pit for a new front wing, because he's missing a left side end plate as well. What has happened to RSC's race? It's gone from semi-decent with a decent qualifying to complete trash at the moment, with Nassim on an old set now of soft tyres. He'll be pitting to the end of this race for probably a fresh set of tyres as well, to try and get some kind of fastest lap, maybe down in P20, I'm not sure. Either way, he has actually just decided to progress on with his race. Thomas still leading this race, by the way, but the gap now falling. It's now under 3 seconds in the battle against Ryderdal, as Dom has crashed out of this race. Has this brought the safety car? It certainly has. The safety car is now out. Dom has crashed as AMR's race going from bad to worse. I'm sure Crispy will be happy to hear this one. He has crashed out of this race. Thomas pits into the, he now pits for the soft tyre, as does Ryderdal. Jeroen doing exactly the same thing. Matteo doing exactly the same thing. Tom, no doubt, will be doing exactly the same thing. Quantum, on the other hand, has got that 10-second penalty to serve. He could serve it, and he'll be back in this race, but of course, with that 10 seconds, could that be a problem? It might not be, actually, because everyone's now going to be at safety car pace. Suddenly, FRT's race has started to brighten up a little bit.
Yeah, they needed that, didn't they? Well done to Quantum for hanging in there and waiting for that moment. We've got a mixture of tyres. We've got hards, we've got mediums, we've got softs. Oh, my word. Dirk is back on to 2-lap-old medium tyres. Sorry, he didn't pit, did he? He pit a couple of laps ago. What are you talking about? Yeah, so he's in the mix on used tyres. Everybody else pitting for soft tyres. Now, this all depends on what allocation you picked. Obviously, everybody's got softs available, but whether who has mediums or hards available, again, depends on that balanced or harder selection going into this lobby. And, of course, they would have had to think about that still, even with the restart. And as you were going to finish talking, I was going to say it's quite a miracle we've had no retirements on track yet, but just like that, Dom crashes at turn 2, and we have perhaps the most... Is varietous a word? We've got a lot of that going on. We've got a variety of tyres. We've got a variety of different teams, all looking now to participate in what is essentially a sprint race to the checkered flag.
Ventauri have got one driver on hards, one driver on softs. 88 have got both of their drivers on hards. SCI have got both of their drivers on mediums. Dirk, of course, pitted 2 laps earlier as part of his standard stint. And as a result of that, he's actually managed to gain track position, so he didn't need to pit because he knows that he's going to be on a better tyre versus those behind and in front of him. The problem is that he's got Ventauri Tom, you've got QRT's Namsco, FRT's Dan, EVR's Kevin, who's been very quick on the softer compound of tyres, and Ciberoc's one, again, QRT, on a soft tyre. They are going to be very quick off of the line. The question is, how long is this safety car going to last with Nassim on a now suddenly on a hard tyre? Bearing in mind he pitted for softs earlier on. No, don't ask, it's a complicated one. He's now just approaching turn number 3. He's got to get to the back of the field as quick as he possibly can. He can't just hover off and just, you know, take the mick, if you will. He's got to get round and get to the back of this as quick as he possibly can. Bearing that in mind, though, he's just coming around turn number 4. My guess is this safety car is going to stay out until at least the end of lap 24 as a result. This could only be a 2-lap dash to the end.
More likely 3. It might even go in at the end of this lap. We'll see, though, how Mr. Bernd Mailander is feeling and how much he really wants to shape the end of this race, because this is what we're dealing with. Hards from the top 2, we've seen that they are difficult to warm up. They're slow, but they're durable if, depending on the amount of laps we get at the end, the mediums might still just about hit that 20%, and the hards might still be in good nick. We'll see. Of course, the soft, well, they are going to need the latest possible restart to get the most out of their tyres, because they will wear absolutely rapidly. They'll know from qualifying, they'll know from basically avoiding them in every single race we do in the Legacy Division. So, yeah, it all depends on what Mr. Mailander has got for us.
I've just seen this wonderful clip here of the safety car just going around turn number 7 with all of the drivers following, and then just suddenly the very quick Nassim just going across the final corner as he's trying to catch up at turn number 19. So that is a wonderful shot, to say the least. Lap 22 of 26. We'll see if the safety car does come out. I don't think it'll be the end of this lap. It probably will be the end of the next, actually, if you think about it, because the game does try to force the safety car to come in and give everyone a chance at some racing, regardless of where you're on circuit, if we are getting to the end of this race. Side note, by the way, about what caused the safety car. So we know it was AMR Dom. He has confirmed that he clipped the apex too tight and he lost the front tyre on the entry of the corner. So he's ended up clipping the wall, you know, trying to get as close as he can to the wall. He's hit it, and that's taken the tyre off. So that's the reason for his demise in this race. No confirmation of the safety car coming in at the end of this lap, so it should be the next one. If not, definitely the lap later. We just need to wait for Nassim to really pick up the pace and get to the back of this queue.
Yeah, it'll be a 3-lap shootout. I think Nassim just biding his time. He doesn't want to, you know, rush to the back of the pack. Of course, he's well within his rights to just go at his own pace, and then when the safety car comes in, it will come in. It will be forced to come in at some point. He's just kind of delaying proceedings here. Back into the pit lane goes Leo and Sieb. They've got a pit stop gap behind them comfortably to change onto a fresh set of tyres again here, and this will be softs. Of course, Leo's done 2 laps on them softs. He'll pick 4 slicks because they still wear under the safety car. You're working them all the time. You are generating a little bit of heat and therefore wear going into them. And Sieb swaps from hards to softs as well. Nothing to lose for either of them. I think that's a really sensible call. Axe is quite right in the chat. My Siri's going off. Go away. He says, no more win predictions. I need DNF predictions. Now, that's not our position. We don't really want anybody to DNF. But let's be honest, it's going to happen.
Yeah, Enzo. I'm just going to say out blunt at the moment. He has been ultra aggressive this part of the race, and now he's on a hard tyre with everyone else on softs. I can see him getting extra ultra aggressive, and I think if there's going to be the first person to DNF as a result of the safety car restart, I could see it being RSC's Enzo, because their race, you know what, they were looking so sharp, weren't they? Qualifying looked really good, but the race has just been absolutely appalling for the team. Documented with a gorilla as their logo. It's definitely been guerrilla warfare for them. 23 of 26, it should be 24 of 26, and this team is just now approaching the back of the queue, so the safety car surely should be coming in to the end of this lap, and when that does occur, it will be a 3-lap dash to the end of this race. It's not even a sprint, it is a dash to the end of this race, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. The safety car confirmed end of this lap will be in. The top 5 are not on soft tyres. Both ET8s are on hards. Both SCIs are on mediums. And then you've got Ventari Thomas on hards, but his teammate Tom, the leader of those on the soft tyre, but he has a 3-second penalty to his name. Quantum served his 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane earlier on, so now he's in a prospective P11 and will be battling it out with QRT in front. And then, of course, you've got the AMR driver of TGF, no, rather, pardon me, sorry, it's IRT's driver of Zwaldek in P12, but he's gone very early indeed, has Thomas. He doesn't want to cause any battle. He's caught Ryderdal napping, but he'll be now going down past turn 20 and down towards the start finishing line as they'll be hoping to go green again. And Girona's got a really good start. We go green again here in Baku. He catches Ryderdal a little bit napping, but he's not happy. He's very happy indeed to hold back with those fresh medium tyres. Dirk is holding on from a battle from the likes of Matteo on the new hard tyre, but Tom is looking ultra racy now on this soft tyre. 24-26, 2.5 to go.
Ahead of Enzo, that's the first overtake on this opening lap after the green flags go flying again. Everybody's through turn 1 and turn 2. Okay, it's down to turn 3 and Leo Tonelato again. He's down the inside. He's overtaken Misha. There's a bit of wheel banging between them. He loves a late braking move, and for the second time in 2 weeks, completely caught me off guard and just sends it down the inside. Gotta say, it's brilliant to watch. As is the opening lap on this restart. Everybody is through okay. Jeroen continues to apply the pressure on Ryderdal, but if he can't make it through on this first lap after the restart, the time will start to run out. Ryderdal has managed to recover a few tenths on this lap and stays within the DRS range of Thomas when it gets enabled on the next lap.
I tell you what, the soft tyre runners have not managed to get as much of a jump as I thought they would on the front 5. Is that just because the tyres are yet to warm up a little bit, I wonder? Either way, Yasia gets the move done on Zwaldek into the wall, and that's going to be critical here. Snack and AMR have got a driver through. Is he going to look for the move potentially going into turn number 16, 17? I'm not sure, but in this particular occasion, Snack has managed to get Zwaldek, but Yasia might have actually got wing damage as a result of that bang. He has. He's lost the front right end plate, so that will make him a sitting duck in the battle with HR, looking to try and at least get some good points here. Jeroen gets the fastest lap of this race. He's trying to get the move done on Ryderdal as they go side by side. The pole sitter is struggling potentially to not even be on the podium as it stands as a result of this safety car period. He now is down to P3, and behind him will be Dirk in a very, very quick fashion indeed. Towards the back, Enzo Sabaton still battling. Zwaldek also in the battle as well. We've got people battling left, right, and centre here for the scraps of points here. Look at the battle here for P15 as we're going side by side with Enzo Sabaton, who's trying to battle with Zwaldek and Sieb. Sieb gets the move done in his own teammate here. Oh, it's a big collision there. They've got a big collision involving, I think it was Snack, who's got no front wing whatsoever, and AMR's race is done. There will be no points for the second Scottish outfit. Well, this is all happening. VNT's Thomas has just been overtaken now by Jeroen, as Shazoo Cedar Igniters will be leading this race here. Lap 25 of 26. Ryder will be hoping to hold on for the podium, but Dirk is closing big time, as is Ventauri's Thomas, who's getting closer and closer to Matteo, but Matteo has had a fabulous stint here after the safety car, who's actually putting more pressure to stay on the back of Dirk.
This is going down to the wire. Mediums against hards on the final lap. ET8 against SCI with the VNT man gunning for his first win.
Oh,
and
Kevin! Oh!
No! Oh, Kevin on the exit of turn 15. He was on for a top 10. He's completely lost it. And I hope he doesn't have any damage. I don't think he does, because he can still get some points here, and double points, crucially, for EBR for the first time this season. Here we go then for the final lap of this race. Here comes Thomas for the race lead. And again, Ventari looking for their first since the rebrand. They've got it done on the start of lap 26, but can he hold on with 2 more DRS zones still to play for here?
No worries about safety cars, because there in Snack, he's actually retired in the pit lane, so both AMR drivers have retired from this race. Disappointing stuff from the second Spanish outfit. Here's Ventauri then, who's managed to get the move on Jeroen. Jeroen will be hoping to just hang fire and potentially get the move done on the back straight to be the next victor of this race, but Ventauri really want to take this race victory since their NLR, since their rebrand from NLR. Ventauri are on top as it stands so far, but on the non-choice tyre. As it stands, Dirk is still not able to get anywhere near the pole sitter of Ryderdal, and ETA will be 3 and 5, and SCI will be 2nd and 4th in what is again a little bit of a switch between the front pairings, the teams that will be battling for this title, we suspect, in this championship hunt. And the Ventari doing a really good job, as Snack has left the session in disappointing circumstances, as I said, for AMR. The soft tyre runners have not been able to get anywhere near the front 5. They've been fabulous at the front 5 regardless of this situation. Jeroen will get as close as he possibly can. He's saved a lot of ERS. The thing is though, Thomas has done exactly the same thing. In fact, he's got more ERS versus Jeroen here, and I think Ventauri have actually got a good chance here of being able to defend this one. Straight into overtake they will go. Ryderdal is actually a lot closer to Jeroen than he thinks here, so I think here now we've got our race victor, but who's going to be P2? Who's going to be P3, I wonder? Is there going to be points loss as a result of the Shazoo Cedar Igniters? The DRS is open. Here they go. It will be the race victory, no doubt though, for the team that recently rebranded. Ventauri win the race here, and I tell you what, there will be some predictable questions here about how Ryderdal managed to get that one. Either way, he takes P2 from Rateo, who gets P4 in the end. Dirk finishes in P5. Jeroen is P3. ET8 closed down the gap at the front of the championship. FRT and Quantum finishing 7th and 8th. What a great effort from Dan and Quantum for FRT. They have now taken a points gap between them and HR, with only a points finish for Leo in P12. What a race that was at the end, but the benefit goes to Ventauri.
Ventauri, well done. Their first win since the rebrand. Their first since Baku in Season 4, when again Daddlepad won from pole position there. It's VNT Thomas, one of the Toms, does come out on top in a brilliantly fought victory for him. Ryderdal in P2, getting Jeroen on the start-finish straight. Look who else overtook an SCI car. It was a photo finish between Matteo and Dirk. I don't know if anybody could hear me going, oh, in the background. It was for that. Matteo gets the move on Dirk, and just when it looked like SCI had a rotten bit of luck from an ET8 perspective with that safety car, they have outscored the 2-time reigning champions. Namshko finishing P6. He had a roller coaster of a race. Driver of the day, you've got to say, for FRT Dan from 20th. He recovers to finish 7th in that one. Quantum needed that safety car as well. He finished 8th from 7th on the grid. Simba rocks one from last on the opening lap, finishes in the top 10. My general opinion there is that there will be a lot of happy drivers.
A lot of happy drivers, a lot of disappointed drivers as well. Kevin Zunberg will be so disappointed that he finished in the end 1 position lower than where he started, because he had an absolutely blinding race, but one mistake cost him big time. And towards the back, of course, AMR. What a disappointing race it was for them. Let's take a quick look then at the standings for the going into this race. That is massive for ET8. They've managed to outscore the Shizou Cedar Igniters. SCI are not indestructible. They have closed down the gap. I still think SCI will be in the lead of this championship, but the gap will be considerably closed now as a result. Future Racing Team. Wowee, wow. P3 and 72 matching with Ventauri in that particular battle. Them two will be so happy with the performance, but Ventauri with that race victory will surely take P3 out of their hands. QRT, they were looking like they were having a semi-decent race. They've earned some big points tonight. Hadrick, though, have had an absolute shocker. Have had race speed, as has International Racing Team, and as has AMR. There's absolutely nothing to discuss with them. Despite the mistake, EVR have earned some big points here tonight. They will close up the gap at the front of at the back of the field as well. That is a real mixed bag that has definitely changed this championship now.
Yeah, it does. Actually, just waiting for the points to go on if they do, even just for SCI and ET8. But that second overtake from Matteo at the end on the line, that changes it from they're perhaps level on points to hang on. ET8 have gained a few again, and they have responded in pretty much the perfect way when it looked like SCI had the safety car gods on their side there. You've got to say, well played to all there. FRT finally getting that duo that they needed. We know Dan has it in him. We know he's delivered big performances in the past, certainly in the Legacy division when it comes to top 10s. Yeah, that is a real recovery drive that gives them perhaps not a stronghold on P3, because of course Ventauri took the win, but you know, something to cling on to now for this championship in their position. Of course, some general awful performances. EVR, RSC, Hadrick, nowhere. A calamity of driver errors throughout the majority of that race. But that's where we separate the men from the boys in the Legacy division.
Well, we'll be hoping for an update on the standings, because I'm going to do something incredibly unprofessional, and I'm actually going to show you an Excel spreadsheet instead of the live graphics as and when they come through, because this is going to be fairly critical, because I'm going to be very interested to see what they look like. So hopefully we'll get an update from Luke in due course. One thing that I would like to very quickly discuss, though, is next week, because of course this is our final race of this first stint of 3 in this season. We'll be heading to Qatar in just a week's time for their Grand Prix, which again is a completely different circuit, very free-flowing circuit, one that we saw Dirk looking like he was going to get some big points at that one last time out, and of course a big puncture saw him drop the standings as a result of that. So that is going to be one to watch to see if Dirk can get his reprieve for the Qatari Grand Prix next weekend out on September 16th. Of course, then we have our week break before we head over to Mexico City for round number 6, and then of course that treble header of reverse tracks, of course, as well as sprint races for Austria, the Netherlands and Britain before we head over to Imola for the Halloween period on October 28th for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Joseph, Qatar next week, what to expect?
You know what, Jota? I'll be gutted to miss it. Unfortunately, that is the case. I'm missing the race. But, you know, having seen ET8 close up a little bit, I wouldn't have been, too disheartened if SCI had a massive lead going into it. But now it's one of those where you don't want to miss it, and you don't want to miss the potential drama that does come with the punctures, especially on this game where that front left will take the biggest battering known to man. So, yeah, do join us next week if you can, because, a third of the way through the season, it's not like last season. We are getting into, you'd call the business part of the season, the mid part. Yeah, the chaos reverse tracks coming up. It won't be far away.
We're just waiting to see if we are going to get an update for the standings. If not, we'll take a leave of absence, and then, of course, we'll post whatever the recent standings are as and when we get them. So, of course, what we say will be pending any student inquiries, which, by the way, I've just opened up the panel, and we've not had any student inquiries posted as of yet, but no doubt, Joseph, there's going to be a few after that one, because, I'll tell you what, towards the back where all the soft tyre runners were battling, it did get quite intense.
Yeah, it did. We saw cars off at turn 3, didn't we? Collisions. The one involving Quantum, I think that was on lap 2. FRT might take note of that and report it, even though it doesn't really gain them anything. They finished in a healthy 7th and 8th. But yeah, things need to be looked at. Teams will get involved. They'll try and get each other penalty points because it will all boil down. Of course, it contributes to qualifying bans, race bans. We know that. The politics game here in the Legacy Division. It's kind of what it's all about, though, isn't it, compared to our regular tiers?
Here's one for you as well. I've just had a little bit of an update from Enzo Sabaton, the RSC man, who actually, you know, we mentioned that he was struggling around there, and of course there was a few mistakes here and there. We thought he was being ultra aggressive. He was definitely ultra aggressive in that defense as well, but he has had some hardware issues. His pedals have been somewhat disjointed, and I would say borderline. They are pedal. I'm just watching it now. Yes, it is very much a. Let's be honest here. It's pedal failure, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought he might have hit the wall. Nothing else needs to be said about that. They're just hardware fault. So unlucky for Enzo. It wasn't a great race anyway. We saw him carrying a bit of damage, didn't we? And pit early. Just kind of lost positions as things went on. Just culminated a pretty rough evening for RSC.
Yes, quite. I'm not seeing any updates to the standings, so we're not going to be able to deliver anything as of tonight, but no doubt there will be an update later down the line, folks. So give us a follow on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, rather. That's at WOR League. Give us all a follow. If you haven't also given us a follow as well on our personal accounts, you should also give us a follow as well for any kind of information, as well as probably conversations about Leicester City and Sheffield Wednesday as well on that one as well. Joseph, you screamed.
I screamed. Yeah, I do talk some rubbish, don't I? Don't follow me. Follow Jota, though. He's a bit more level-headed than me.
Apparently, I'm more level-headed, even though that every fourth tweet that I post is about Sheffield Wednesday's obvious demise at the moment. But if you are interested, give us a follow at WR League, for myself at Jota _ with a 3 at Joseph F1. If you do want to follow the banter, that is, of course, on Joseph himself, Joseph D'Ambrosio. Thank you very much for yourself, Joseph, as well. It's been an absolute blind. I think a bit of an unexpected one, that one, if we wrap it up very quickly about Baku, because let's be honest, we thought that this one wasn't going to be the most intense of races. It wasn't the best, but it certainly wasn't the worst.
No, it wasn't the worst. Safety car bred a new life into it, really. It's what the race needed, I think, at the end. I don't think that Riders Hour was going to close up to Thomas, but in the end, we kind of still got our deserved one too. So, you know, win-win from all sides, really.
Yeah, win-win from everyone, win-win from everyone's ground as well, who's been able to watch what has been an absolute blinder of a race. Thank you to every single one of you who has tuned into this race. At one point managed to get up to 100 viewers, which is a very nice handhold for themselves. As I said, we are in Qatar next week for what will be the Qatari Grand Prix on September 16 before we go for our week break. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that one. Joseph, you're obviously on your break next week. Anything fancy going on?
Not really. I'm just going to Centre Parks, mate, to be honest with you.
Centre Parks. There we go. It's
my big age.
Fancy enough for Centre Parks. Anyway, so I'll be with you on this one, hopefully with someone else next week. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. It's an absolute blinder, and I will be here for the Qatari Grand Prix, I said, next week. Take care, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.